Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak, with iLan Azoulai, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak. I'm iLan Azoulai. I'm a spiritual mentor and a sound therapist for you who are ready to reclaim your power, to discover your gifts, to remember your gifts, and to bring them out to the world with the power of music, the power of your thought, and of your words. And this is an empowerment program, and in this program, I bring guests that are spiritualists, artists, musicians, any person who is in their journey and experiencing their gifts, bringing their gifts out to the world to encourage each one of us. But these days of the Jewish festives of light, Hanukkah, we are reminded and encouraged by the stories of the Maccabees, whose determination, faith, and commitment landed them a victory over the dark side, the Greek at that time, who sought out to destroy the culture and essence of Israel. In today's Quranic era, we too find ourselves in the midst of a huge shift. And while I and many others have been talking and feeling the energetic shift that has the potential in shifting our perception and level of consciousness for several years, now, today, is the time where all realities and beliefs are coming to the surface, as if they're pushing through a narrow bottleneck. It is during these times that we feel the contradiction between the good and evil, the kind and the ego, the love and those who deny it. Today, I am pleased and honored and happy to have a wonderful guest, Rachel Schwartz, and she is a Kabbalistic astrologer, and she is in New York. Here we go. I can hear you. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hi, Ilan. I'm very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Lovely to have you. And I'm so happy that we got to connect. I don't know even how we just connected because we're supposed to connect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So thank you for being here, Rachel. Rachel, you are also from the same village where I'm from, Israel. And you're a Kabbalistic astrologer. Now, it's not every day that one just wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to be an astrologer and I'm going to be a Kabbalistic astrologer. So tell us a little bit about you and what does that mean and how does that work for you and how are you able to help people with this?
You know why it's so funny because not only did I not wake up one day, I never believed in astrology. I wasn't one of those people that from a very young age gets into it, knows what every sign means. Opposite. Even in the in the paper you have it at the end, I would be like, I was just waiting to see when is my birthday, right?
Just to see what that means on your birthday.
Exactly. But I did start a spiritual journey and I started studying Kabbalah. And I actually started in the Israeli Kabbalah Center in Tel Aviv. And one of the first questions they asked me is, what's your sign? And as a good Leo, I said, do you believe in that stuff? But I'm a Leo. It's the best sign, right? It's the best sign, right?
But you don't believe in it, right? You didn't believe in it at that time.
I did. You know what? That's the problem of the Leo, that we do feel we are the best no matter what. But honestly, then I really started to learn more about it. I got really acquainted with it. And I've been reading books. And for many, many years now, I'm doing sessions. I'm meeting people. I'm teaching astrology. Yes. And I continue to learn all the time, So
yeah, that's wonderful.
Is an amazing journey.
That's wonderful. And did you have, now is your family religious?
I grew up in a traditional home.
I know that means.
Sephardic Jews.
Yes.
We kept kosher, we kept Shabbat, kind of kept watching TV and not driving.
Yeah. Having Shabbat dinner, then going to the beach. Yes.
Exactly. Something
I
like
get
that.
I get that.
Yeah. But the tradition was there. I was a little rebelling against it, to be honest. That I didn't really like the idea of God is a guy that cares about what I eat, or if I like on Yom Kippur, if I watch TV or not. It was hard for me to believe also that you can do whatever you want and then you fast one day and everything is clearing for
Mm,
you, right?
mm,
So I
mm,
went through actually a different journey. I started really understanding that there's so much more
mhm.
than just the rules,
Yeah.
it's a way of living, that
Yes.
everything is a secret to our existence. And even kosher, for instance, nobody's gonna punish you if you don't, but there's an energetic
Hmm.
reason to
That's right.
everything that we do, including to when we are born.
Yeah.
So if you came in a certain time, in a certain date, in a certain place, the way that the planets and the stars even are arranged at that time is giving us a lot of great information as of to your soul's journey,
Hmm. Mm,
where
mm.
you're coming from and where you're headed.
Many times when people would read astrology, astrological, not definition, but
Forecasts.
forecast, not
Yeah.
forecast, but more of an analyzing. Let's say, oh, you are. Somebody would tell me, oh, you are Gemini, so you are probably da 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 da. So the point is, it's never not true, right?
Right.
So basically, we're receiving information that we already know, right? Oh yeah, I know I'm like that. I know I'm like that. I know I'm like that. But now we're talking about forecasts. And forecasts is basically by the movement of the stars and by the constellations and the places, it forecasts our emotional state, right?
Right, there is an emotional state. There are actually also physical things. But I want you to understand that even when we talk about your characteristics, right? So,
Characteristics,
as
the
a
right word, yeah.
Gemini, right, you're a very curious human being. You know you're curious. Nobody needs to
Yeah.
tell you. As a Gemini, you have commitment issues. You know that somewhere. Nobody needs to tell you that. But why do you have commitment issues? Where is it coming from? What is the duality and what are
Mm-hmm.
the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
having the dualities? Astrology, and especially Kabbalistic astrology, whoever really looks at it, we can look at it like, what can I do? I'm a Gemini, so I'm all over the place. Or I can say, I'm a Gemini, so I have those tendencies, but my job spiritually is to be above the
Mm-hmm.
influence of the
Mm-hmm.
stars, the planets, and when I understand myself in a deeper way. For instance, Geminis are really afraid of commitment because actually, when they are committed, they're so all in that they can lose themselves. People can think the Geminis are superficial. Oh, they want to be like a butterfly, but no, it's because actually it's opposite. They're so easily adapting to people and become the other
Come the
person
other
to the
side.
right,
Yeah.
so they can
Yeah, we
lose
talked about
themselves.
this. We talked about this last time. We talked about the adaptability. I remember
Yeah,
as a child, I would kind of like be kind of proud of that, really, that I
yeah.
was able to adapt, and to blend when I wanted
Right.
to. But here's the thing: there are sides, right? It's when you want to.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so this is very interesting. But here's the thing: I know what you're saying about are we afraid of commitment. The question is, and this is the work I do when I do spiritual work and I do spiritual guidance, is really to find what place we inhabit within ourselves that produce certain outcomes, that produce certain behavior patterns, or what traumas we went through. You
Right.
could say that the commitment issues could be of traumatic issues. Now,
Absolutely.
we all went through trauma, right?
Absolutely.
We all experienced the same feelings, just with different stories. So if we are striving to defeat what the characteristics are now, again, given that I know and you know that we are not this body, right?
Right.
This is like a car. This is a car, and we are the driver of the car.
Absolutely.
So if the characteristics of the stars, for example, are saying, oh, you are like you deny what you are, all right, for example, and you want to defeat that, but not to defeat, but to overcome that. It's kind of like admitting that you are the body and you are trying now to work hard to defeat that or to overcome it, when in essence you're not that body. So why not to take that and to bring it to a different place, but that can empower you, rather saying that, oh, I'm part of it and let me fight it because I really have to fight it, I'm above
It's
this.
not about fighting at all. There's no fighting in that process. It's
Well,
not
it's a
about
way
fighting.
of, yeah.
So, for instance, if we look at a person like you, that you know you have moon in Pisces, and moon in Pisces is
Yeah.
an extremely, extremely, extremely sensitive person. Sensitive to the point that when you were a child, you could even feel what's going to come, not only what happened, what's going to happen. And for you, because your moon in Pisces, and there's an indication in the chart that, again, if you want, we can talk about it a little bit, that your mother was a sacrificer, that there was a lot of sacrifice from her perspective. Now, what's the thing? The thing is that if we understand, for instance, that somewhere you wanted so much to feel closeness to your mother, that somewhere you became like your mother, you became as sacrificer as she is. But listen to that. You have a tendency to want to be so righteous, so pure, so selfless, to the point that sometimes you're not going to pay attention to your own needs. And what happens as a result? When you don't pay attention to your own needs and to your own emotions and to your own pain, you eventually, it's going to come out in a different way. So
But
with
isn't
moon
that
in Pisces,
yeah.
it can come in all kinds of ways: addiction, escapism, depression, anger attacks, all kinds of, and even in the body. So if you understand that actually based on even your moon sign, you need to know that actually, I know I want to be always righteous and never be selfish and only do selfless acts, but I'm a human. And as a human, sometimes I'll get upset. And as a human, I need to accept my humanness. It can take you to a much stronger place. You're not going to have to deal all of a sudden with an emotional attack somewhere that comes out of nowhere. You understand? It's really mindfulness. It
For sure.
awakens you to see
For sure.
who you
For sure.
are. And of course, for you, because of how you are, you're very aware. You're very out of the box type of person. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody's in the spiritual place you're in. You understand? So
For sure.
you take things, and your chart is going to tell us, for instance, your chart is saying that if you want something, you're going to get it.
Abracadabra, right?
It's desire. When you're connected to your real desire, nothing will ever stop you. If you know something like that, and there are things in your life that you don't have, you're going to understand somewhere that maybe it's because I'm not connected enough to my desire. Because when I
Isn't desire coming from a place of lack? Desire arises from a place of no desire.
what is
Desire arises from a
Kabbalah?
place. Kabbalah is the receiving, right?
Exactly.
Being the
What do you?
receptacle.
How do you receive if you have no desire? We're
No,
all
no, I
vessels.
understand that, but the thing is, right? The desire arises. I'm reiterating. The desire
Yes.
comes from a place of needing something, of place of a need, place of a lack. But many times it is kind of really thank you, by the way. This is and if you're hearing this, I mean, you just gave some some things away. But here is the thing: if I'm in a desire place, if I'm lacking something, right, the desire comes out of a place of lack, of need. Okay, so I'm in a place of
Okay.
need. So for example, whatever that is needed, if I'm becoming that need, if I'm coming and I'm making decisions and choice from that narrow place of need. We grew up in Israel, we've seen things, oh, this was missing, we wanted this, we wanted this. If you come from this place of need, then the view is very narrow. So many times that desire which we wanted to achieve never happened because we came from a place of need rather from a place of all inclusive and all
Exactly.
together.
Absolutely. That's the real desire. The real desire can never really come from a selfish place. Because selfish is not the real pure version of the desire.
Amen.
As people, we are a part of a whole. And as a part of a whole, our desire needs, as you say, to be inclusive of everybody.
Yeah.
So if you do something like this podcast, for you, yeah, of course, you have the side of the Gemini that you want to communicate, you want to learn new things, you want to give knowledge, you want to teach. It's the Gemini. But what you're doing is, like you say, I want to give voice to people. I want to give wisdom. You do it from a perspective of I want to do good things in the world. So when you want to give others,
yes,
that's the whole energy of,
that's
I don't know how much people know, the people who listen, but I don't know what they know and who knows the Kabbalistic concepts, but the whole idea of of being a spiritual being is to receive in order to share. That's the
right.
energy of the balance. When I receive with the consciousness of sharing, I'm never going to be lacking. And I'm going to constantly be in a flow.
It's
and
like,
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And the desire that you're talking about, yes, you're talking about the purest version of the desire compared to the selfish desire. And you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And for you, because for you in particular, in your chart, you came to this life already not with a selfish desire. You weren't selfish. You came to this world already not selfish. Your work is easier in some ways because you don't have to first just forget about the neediness, because you automatically have a desire to make an impact. You have a desire to influence. So you have you have a section of the road that you didn't have to get through, but which is a great thing. But now the work is, what is my bigger desire? What is my dramatic? How much can I impact the world?
More,
and this
more
is
than
the
what is
real,
happening.
Exactly.
This is interesting. Rabbi Sachs, do you remember Rabbi
Yes,
Sachs?
I mean,
Passed away,
yes,
unfortunately, a couple of months ago. Oh, what a wonderful treasure to the world.
What a wonderful
What a light. Oh, I have he passed away on the day that Leonard Cohen passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember, and 3 years ago we had a sermon that he gave on the day that on the week that Leonard Cohen passed away, and it was around the same. So it's really, but he said a beautiful, beautiful thing, and such a profound thing. He says the meaning of a system always lies outside of the system. It's never inside the system. And what you're talking about, and what we're talking here about the desire not to incubate that, not for it to stay here, but for it to flow. And this is this is what many times we talk with channelers or with somebody like yourself, where it doesn't stay there, it is here to flow, to be and when another rabbi said that if you have an issue receiving things, make sure that your intention is not a receiving for you, it is receiving for somebody else, so you can receive something and say thank you, but it doesn't stay with you, it goes further,
right? But some needs to also stay with you.
For sure,
putting myself
yes.
right, like it's not, the whole idea is that we need to understand that we really deserve a fulfilling life. And if I do things that are meaningless, if I just chase after physical things, like I want a
Mm-hmm.
bigger
Mm-hmm.
house or a nicer car, or I'm gonna get it, but you know how it is. You get
Exactly.
it, and
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 exactly.
how much does it hold happiness for you?
Exactly.
But how amazing it is when somebody comes back to you and tells you, listen, ilan, you changed my life, you healed me, you opened up. And again, it's not about the ego, it's about the fulfillment. It's how
Yeah.
much and what really holds, that even when we talk about pleasure, a lot of people are looking for pleasure, physical pleasure, monetary, good
Mm-hmm.
food, all the
Mm-hmm.
physical joys of the world, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no problem to enjoy, but you know that even all the systems of experiencing pleasure in our brain,
Mm.
after a short while, they won't feel it anymore.
That's
They
right.
start to eat an amazing cake or start to do something that is extremely pleasurable. How much is it gonna hold?
Exactly.
But the pleasure that is the infinite pleasure is the meaningfulness, and it's exactly what you said. When you even when we study, you and I are both signs that love to study new things, and we think, wow, I'm going to give it to somebody, I'm going to teach it to someone, how amazing is that?
Yeah, it is. It is. So in your
Right.
work, so let's go back to your work.
Okay.
So you work primarily with who? You work with anybody? You work with couples? You work with men? You work with
Anybody.
women?
I work with anybody that is up for understanding what they are here to do in this lifetime, that are open to change what needs to be changed,
Mm-hmm.
that are interested in really getting a real fulfillment in a spiritual
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
Again, it could be very much done in a physical way, but it
Yeah.
eventually it will move them to a place of a spiritual fulfillment. When
Amen. Good.
somebody meets with me, they need to know that I'm going to tell them what they have to work on. I'm going to tell them what they have to change. To talk about the future or predictions like that, I'm going to tell you something. There's a very famous saying that everything is written, but the permission is given
Is
to.
given.
You have the permission to change. So even though there's certain things that are written, the whole understanding, the Rambam, I think we
Mm-hmm.
talked about it. The
Maimonides.
Rambam forbid
Maimonides.
to write to do astrology. Why? Why so many people, religious Jewish people, don't want to study it? Because if you look at it as that's my force, what can I
Mm-hmm.
do? That's idol worshiping. It's called avodat kocham. But if you look at it as this is something that I'm here to learn and to pay attention next time that I
Mm-hmm.
do it, not to do it, because my light and my energy are not going to come from my robotic
Yeah.
behavior.
It's not going. This is not where the buck stops. Basically, not to make
Exactly.
the stars as the point. That is not. This
Exactly.
is a tool. It's just like sound. I had the same thing with working with Tibetan bowls and sound and everything. It's really a tool to. But for example, if we look at our forefather, at Abraham, right? Abraham was a
Yeah,
great astrologer.
exactly.
God took him out and said, "Look, this is how your lineage going to look like as
Right,
many
right.
stars,
He
right?"
saw everything.
They saw
He saw
everything.
everything, yeah. But you know that also there's a part that Avraham saw. The Zohar says that Avraham saw that he's not going to have children
That's right.
in the
That
stars.
is true. That is true. But then what
And
what
he
what he
did.
was said? He was said that we are above stars.
Exactly. So first of all, it says En Mazal Israel. It's not just Israel,
Israel.
is actually a consciousness. It's a consciousness, which means that the letters of Israel are
Mm-hmm.
Li Rosh,
Mm-hmm.
which means it's people that understand that Sof Maaseh B'Machshava Tchila, however
Mm-hmm.
speaks Hebrew, the end of the action always starts with the seed level of a thought.
Exactly.
And people that understand that the consciousness is what eventually will create your reality are people that are not like bound or abide by
Yeah.
the planets. People that are just letting life, again, living it in a robotic way.
Yeah,
without mindfulness, without trying to go deep, without looking for answers in a deeper way, these people can be influenced no matter what they are. They can
that's right.
be the Jewishest Jew or the
That's right.
it's
Because
consciousness.
I've seen, you know, I've met many Jewish people that are like die-hard astrologers and die-hard in astrology. And if that star didn't say this week, nope, it's not going to happen. And I was like,
Right. Right.
you
And
know,
I never do that because sometimes, there's something that is called a solar return, which means
hmm
that you look at where you're going to be. And some astrologer will send you to India to be on your birthday in India.
yeah,
Or I believe that the physical reality absolutely can make some change. But you can go to Alaska or to India or to Hawaii, but if you don't do your spiritual work,
that's right.
it's not going to make an effect.
That's
If you
right.
don't go, but you do your spiritual work, you're going to have an effect that is much stronger.
That's right. The calendar that we are going by today really goes, you know, is a sun calendar. The Muslims, for example, are going by the moon only. So
Right.
holiday can be one in the winter, one in the, you know, one in
We
the
all
summer, one in the
remember
winter,
it in
right?
Israel, right? The Ramadan. You
The,
never know
you
when
never
it
know when it's going
is,
to
right?
happen. So, but how does the Kabbalah works if it's astrology? Does it like Judaism, where it takes in Judaism? Really, it's both.
Yeah,
It's the combination of both, and you have 13
exactly.
months. And so, is the Kabbalah work? How? Why did you
Yes,
explain
the
how the
years,
astrology in Kabbalah
so
work?
I'm going to tell you, the years go by the sun and the months go by the moon. So the beginning, we're in a new moon energy. The beginning of the moon is the beginning of the month. We call
hmm
the Rosh Chodesh,
Yeah.
the head of the month.
hmm
And in this Kabbalistic astrology, if someone is born in the new moon or the new month of, for instance, Capricorn now, even if in the Gregorian calendar, they're still under the influence of Sagittarius, they will have the tikkun or the work
Yeah.
of the
The soul
Capricorn,
work. The soul work.
the
Yeah.
soul work of the Capricorn. So
Mm,
in that example,
I
the
see.
person can still have a lot of love of freedom, exploration, learning of the side of the Sagittarius, and truth and justice, but they're going to be much more serious, like the Capricorn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of other influences. We absolutely look at the Kabbalah. For me, in the Kabbalistic astrology point of view, I believe that the Hebrew calendar or the
Yeah.
Hebrew birthday is actually many, many times showing us our gifts from
hmm
my experience.
Mm.
Where are the gifts? Where are they hidden?
So you were born in. You are a Leo. So you were born what
In Av,
in Avelio,
the month of August,
August,
and yeah, and my Hebrew month is Av.
Av. So how do you draw from that for your gifts? How do you draw
So,
from
so
August and
I'll give
Av?
you an
Yeah.
example. Leo is ruled by the sun.
hmm
The month of Av is a month that by the way, when I talk about even summer or winter,
hmm
it goes by the energy of Israel, the land of Israel, according to Kabbalah, and not only according to Kabbalah. If you look at it in real life, you'll see how many religions and people
hmm Yeah.
fight over that small
Piece of
piece
land.
of land. And I remember when we were growing up, they used to tell us, yeah, because it was the conjunction, everybody. But
That's the
today,
physical
who
thing.
needs
Yeah,
that,
that's the physical. Yeah,
right? The Holy of Holies that is in Jerusalem is the highest point of energy of the world.
it's true.
That's why Israel is considered a point that all the light comes to the rest of the world from. All the energy starts there. It doesn't mean that other places don't have, it's just the energy starts there. And that's why you will check many times
hmm
by Israel time.
Yep.
But the point is that in the summer, the sun is very, very strong. Leos are ruled by the sun. Now, what is the sun? The sun is a ball of fire, the center of the system, All the planets revolve around the sun. And that's why Leos, by their nature, will feel, my, it's not all about me. What do you mean? It's not. It is. The good is me, but also the not so good is me. It's my responsibility, everybody else's happiness. You're a Gemini, you're an entertainer. You feel you always have to interest everybody else. The Leo feels I always have to lead everybody else. I always have to influence, just like the sun. But if you sit too long in the sun, I mean, Sephardic, we have a little luckier thing there, but still, when they become chocolate, right? But somebody that is very, very white will become burnt by the sun. And that's what Leos can do many times. Leos sometimes can be so intense and want to give and want to tell you what you need to do and what you need to do, to the point that they can burn somebody. So what's the work of the Leo? As much as it's a very hard thing for us to do, because we feel we know everything. A little bit like the Gemini, but from a different perspective.
You just don't want to feel bad by yourself. So you're putting me in. Okay, that's all right. I got
you. Yeah, I'm dragging you into my, I am a Leo, I need to look perfect. No, but really the work is really to say, even if I want to tell you now something, did you ask me? Leos many times will come in and offer advice and nobody asked them. And I can tell you that a lot of times in my life, people felt very controlled by me, or that I shove it down their throat. And now my job is to tell people those things. So obviously I'm very happy and blessed, but you always have to check. You as a Gemini know how to do it, to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to feel who is in front of me. How can I
I hope so. Sometimes we have sometimes it doesn't work, but when I recognize it works,
right.
I have to say that. So because I'm sure that we're all, as you said, we're all humans, and this is the thing about being, because all through this work, it's very important to be gentle with ourselves, right? Now, so I'm saying, so people ask me, well, what does that mean, being gentle? And one of the things that I say, like, how does it manifest? We can talk all these words, be in your thing, be gentle with yourself. What does that mean? How does that? One of the things is the judgment, right? You, just by what you said and how you experienced it, judgment is strong. Everybody judges themselves because we are that kind of duality, right? We're that kind. And one of the things that I have, and one of the things that I tell people is that, what we did a year ago, where we were a year ago, 5 years ago, sometimes we still have to be accountable and to take responsibility for these actions and be there, and whether it is whatever to do to rectify these issues, especially in relationships. But the thing is that when we were 5 years ago the way we were, it is the way we were with the eyes of then. Today we have different set of eyes. So many times what we do, we look back then with the eyes of today. And that's a disservice, because back then we didn't have these understandings.
I love it. It's so true.
So I say, people, let's look at how you were there and see the difference, the distance that you've gone through to be able to correct that. How do you?
Right. Yeah. It requires a lot of mercy and compassion to oneself. And I'll tell you another thing that I'm thinking about is that forgiving oneself or forgiving someone else, it's really about understanding that at the end of the day, it did happen the way it was supposed to happen.
For sure.
Right? So if it happened the way it was supposed to happen, why am I judging myself? I need to learn.
Go ahead.
Right? I need to learn. So let's say I did tell somebody something that they weren't ready to hear. Mm-hmm. If I said it, listen, they were supposed to hear it. The fact that next time I need to look into myself and say, hey, be more sensitive, it's true. But the fact that if I look at the situation as it shouldn't have happened, I am missing the whole
The
point
point, the whole point.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything that
Learning,
has in
right?
this world, that is in this world, everything in this dimension has a spiritual reason and cause.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is being aware of the lay of the land. That's how I like to use it. To be aware of the lay of the land. I'm coming to Italy. Okay, what's the lay of the land here? And you know, so yeah,
Right.
so when people come to you, do they come to you because they are they seek an answer to a question that they have, or they are in the midst of a situation that they don't know what to do? Like what kind of situations people would come and seek you out for?
So, first of all, most people, when they come from because they're on a journey, they're on a spiritual journey. So many of them come because they really want to understand why they are here. Why am I here? What's
Mm-hmm,
my
mm-hmm,
tikkun? What did
mm-hmm.
I come to correct in this lifetime?
Yeah.
Now, all of us, and as you said before, everybody has a trauma, everybody has a place in their lives that they would love to improve, to have it better. And many people, when they come, they will have questions. Why can't I meet my soulmate? Or what do I need to do to bring
Mm-hmm.
my
To bring my
soulmate?
soulmate forward. Yeah.
How can I have more success in my business? How can I improve the relationship with my children? Um, Even health things are indicated in the chart. So the chart really gives us an answer. And I'll tell you something. So let's say somebody can't get themselves into a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But you see that actually it does come from a place that the person is so afraid because of trauma that they had, or they just love their freedom and independence and they can't really, as much as they want on one hand, the love of freedom doesn't let them stay. It always eventually they'll create a situation that will sabotage your relationship because they want to stay free.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand the reasoning of why things are happening, at the end of the day, it's all about what we need to work on.
That's right.
So if I understand, for instance, that uh, my relationship with my child, a lot of times I talk to mothers and they'll say, I do everything that my parents didn't do for me. I do it to my children, and look. And I'll say, that's the problem. Because you don't do what your child wants, you do
Mm-hmm.
what you didn't get. You are
Following a
not
pattern.
come.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if it's an opposite pattern, you're still robotic.
That's
You're
right.
not really seeing what your child needs, right? So
That's
the
right.
child will even show us the relationship with the mother, will
That's
show
right.
us
That's right.
that
Absolutely.
there are a lot of things that you can extract and be answered by a chart.
So there are situations many times, and I know that if things have to happen, they have to happen, right? They have to happen. So if let's say I'm looking at a maze, and there are four exits on top and four entrances on the bottom, right? And on top, on one of the exits, there is an apple. So one of the entrances will reach the apple. We don't know yet. But
Mhm.
whatever choice we make, that choice is already predetermined, right? So if we choose that way, it will already reach or not
A
reach,
certain, yeah.
right? So our power really is not in the choices that we make, but in the places that we inhabit within ourselves to make that choice, right? So it's before we even make the choice. Now, so if we know that something is about to happen, if we know something is about to happen, and we don't do that, is it always, do you feel that it's always going to happen, or is it just going to say, up, the train came, you passed, bye bye. You didn't jump on the train
You
will,
missed the
you missed the train.
opportunity.
But there are certain things that are not that case. There are certain things that whether you want to miss the train or don't want to miss the train, you're going to get hit by the train. It-
Yes, God
So
forbid.
so what are the
Right.
things that you find are those things that we can alter, we can maneuver through, we can refine, we can add sweetness to the experience, and what situations there's nothing, doesn't matter what you do, is going to come. Like we're going to pass away from this corridor. We know that. We just don't know when. So that's one thing. But let's bring it more to something that is more manageable, that is more, it's funny. It's kind of ironic. I say manageable. But bring it to a place. Are there situations that you find that your reading, your Kabbalistic reading, is going to change, or no matter what you're not going to do, it's not going to change?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. There's a point in the chart that is called the North Node.
Mm-hmm.
And the North Node is what you need to get to in this lifetime, where you need to get to. So, for instance, if somebody's North Node
Mm-hmm.
is in the sign Pisces,
Mm-hmm.
this person is going to have to get to the point in this life that they're compassionate.
Mm.
It's going to have to happen. Usually it means that in previous lives they were not
They were not.
compassionate, they
Yeah.
were judgmental, cold. There are two ways to get there. There's a way of a spiritual growth and understanding compassion and starting to be aware
Mm-hmm.
and pay attention and work on my
Mm-hmm.
judgment and all that. And there's a way that the person is going to get hit so many times, even abuse, even all kinds of different situations, until that person will learn, hey, that's how I felt. So that's compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
path now, most people that have that North Node, I mean, 90% of the people would have some sort of an abuse in the beginning of their lives.
So you're saying compassionate people are most likely those who experienced abuse.
Right.
Mm.
So abuse has all kinds of
Yeah.
reasons. Abuse can be also to teach you to not be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But abuse also awakens us to a place of feeling the other people. You know, there's a very, Dudu Topaz, he was a
Yeah.
Virgo. And even though he had all kinds of crazy stuff at the end of his life, he used to actually study Kabbalah. And one time I read an article about him. He was a Virgo, and Virgos are known for their judgment. They're known to be judgmental from the perspective of their tikkun, of their correction.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he said, I really, really loved it. He said, actually, I think it was in the last poem he wrote. He said that compassion is not to feel bad for the other person. It's to look at the other person and say, I could have been in that place. It could have been me there.
Exactly. Oh man, I know exactly what you're
How
talking about.
powerful is that?
Powerful.
When I
Powerful.
heard that, it changed my mind, my head so much, because I always thought compassion is to feel, oh, the poor No,
No, no, no, no.
it's to look even at the person that is in the lowest place and say, you know what, if my circumstances or my talents or my upbringing or my lucky stars were different, I could have been in that situation.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing for I read some of his things. Dudu Topaz, to those who are listening, he was an Israeli entertainer. He passed away many years ago, and so yeah, he wrote. He had some pretty profound sentences at the end. Yeah, towards, but also in the middle. Very mundane sentences like he did a bit called Tel Aviv, Los Angeles, right?
Mm.
And he came here, the desires of Israelis to be in the or that time to be, oh, look at me, all this kind of stuff. And then eventually he comes back to Israel, and they ask him, well, so how do you find Israel? He said, wow, America. It's like great. But here, this
Yeah.
this is really yeah, this is powerful. This is powerful. I remember when uh, I, I I worked on a project on a film, and I really looked at worked with a lot of people that women that were in the red light district of Tel Aviv, right, and the old bus depot, and I have all the, and I hear this is something I'm sharing with the entire whoever is watching. I have all the ingredients that I could have been right there, all the ingredients of being an inhabitant of that place, and I didn't. So you can look at it and say, it's a miracle It's a miracle, or there is something definitely that I don't understand yet. Because I think that based on what you're saying, I mean, in conjunction with what you're saying, and this is an understanding that I got a little while ago. You know how in Judaism it is a cumulative religion, meaning if a rabbi made a halacha, it cannot be taken away, but it can always be added over
Added to.
generations. And
Yes.
Israel is a cumulative, is like added religion, right? And this is how our experience is here. Our neshama, our soul level, is added. So we come here, let's say, after 979 times of living, we come back. And so everything is added except for the memory, except for the mind, the memory. The memory is always like a hit reset button. So you hit the reset button on a computer when you want to reboot it, it starts all over, but it keeps all its data, it keeps all its information. You lost all the RAM, all the random access memory. So now you have to look for it again. You have to
Yeah.
look for it and you have to find it. And this is how I find ourselves, that we have to remember our memories. We have to
Right.
remember our our journey.
What
Tell me
we've learned already.
what?
What we've learned.
What we've
We
learned. Well, we have
already
to remember.
learned.
That's right. We have to
Right?
remember
Our
that.
soul knows everything.
Yes, yes.
Our soul doesn't need to learn anything. We're connected to the totality of the creation. We are all one. I don't need to learn who you are. I just need to know to connect to you from my
That's right.
soul to your soul because
That's
we're
right.
one. When you get into it from that perspective of oneness, you understand that I want you to have a good life. I want you to be successful. I
Yeah.
want you to have a good relationship. I want you to be happy. It's my benefit.
Mm.
The understanding that we're all one, which you with your Pisces moon, I'm sure understand it very much. But when the more people will understand that, the less even war we're gonna have.
Of
Because no
course.
matter what, if somebody says this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine,
Yeah. It's all. This whole generation with the iPhone, iPad. It's
yeah,
I. We
totally,
forgot the whole. We're in Hanukkah. We're now in Hanukkah. Okay. This is
yeah,
this is this is perfect. It says in Hanukkah, everybody is a little candle, but together we are a strong light.
yeah,
We're a strong light. And we really just need one little flame to evaporate darkness. It doesn't go away to the other room. It just evaporates. It just goes poof.
yeah,
And this is and the coming together, everybody who is listening, Jews, non-Jews, Christians, Muslims, whatever that is, when we come together, there are two things that are happening. First of all, we are becoming better. We feel that betterness, and it's so a shame that sometimes like things like September 11th or things happening, but happen. But when that happened, I remember I was in Boston. Actually, I was supposed to be on that flight from Boston to LA. I had a ticket already. Yeah,
that
and
flight.
that flight 11. Yeah, and the 7:30 in the morning to come see my kids
Oh
here in LA.
my God.
So,
Wow.
but here's the thing: after that happened, it was so pleasure to be in Boston because everybody cared for the other person. Everybody walked down the street, say, "How you doing? How are you?" So there was a dip. There was a dip into this ice bucket to get down to the water.
But why do we need chaos for that as people?
But maybe that's the duality that we sometimes needs that shaking because we have both of us. It's like the song
Yeah,
of Meir Banai. I have a little bit of this and I got a little bit of that. We
right.
we have both of these things, and that's the duality that we're talking about. We are in a duality existence.
Right, but and the duality is always the same issue that is manifested into opposing ways.
Yeah, and that's why I liked also when you said, and this is like Rabbi Schneerson said, there is good and there is the opposite of good, because in the opposite of good there is also good.
Yeah, I
and
love it.
that's and that's why what we see as things that are happening as quote unquote bad, if we are understanding that everything is for the good of our journey, what do we have to learn now? Listen, if somebody has their family passed away, it's hard to go to them and to tell them, listen, it is for the good. it is hard.
It's funny you're saying it because I kind of had a conversation like that with somebody a few months ago, and that was the case. And she said, no, loss is something that when it happens, you cannot see the good. There's no, you cannot, and
Maybe at that
you know,
moment it's hard, you know.
right.
I like
That
to give this
moment, it's
example
been,
of that when you knock the door on your thumb, your whole body
yeah,
is a thumb. It's not
yeah,
only the thumb.
totally with your pinky toe, right?
It's the pinky. You have a little thorn in your pinky toe. Your whole body is uncomfortable.
The worst,
And it's the
right?
same thing, you know, when we're going through grief and stuff like that, it's hard to see. And if somebody says something, you know, God forbid, it comes across as, oh, who are you to come to tell me what now? I don't need to hear
Yeah.
this. I need comfort. And
Right.
that's,
Sometimes that's what it's about. Sometimes we don't need to say anything.
yeah,
Trust me. Spoken as a Leo. Sometimes we don't need to say anything. Sometimes
yeah,
we just need to be there and to really be there.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
sometimes a hard thing to do, but just to
it
really
is.
be there for the person, listen to them, feel with them,
Yeah,
whatever is going to take some of the pain. But to start rationalizing at times like that,
yeah, it's
it
not,
can come across as very insensitive and
yeah,
arrogant. I want to say something
please.
about there's something that is coming this coming Monday, and whoever is like a little curious
Are we
about
talking about the
astrology.
21st?
Yes, it's
That's
Monday,
exactly. I'm
right?
going to do a sound therapy on the 21st. So it's very important.
Nice.
I'm glad you brought it up. That's wonderful.
Perfect.
All
So
right.
we're going to have the great conjunction, which is something that some people call it the Star of
That's right.
Bethlehem, right? And some people call it the Star of Yaakov, Jacob. And it's a very powerful and important alignment that is happening. Basically, Jupiter and Saturn are going to conjunct. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to appear really big, and we can actually see that as really, really like one. It's going to look like
Yes, like one
one
of the big
planet.
store. Yeah.
Yes, one big star. I want to say something about it because a lot of people are talking about it as something really like bad, and I want to say two things about it. I want to first say that if we all think it's bad, it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
We have with our consciousness an opportunity to see it as a good thing. What's happening right now in the world, and it's not only COVID, COVID is like the cherry on top. We've
That's
been
right.
dealing with things for such a long time, and it becomes unfortunately even more intense with time.
That's
Every
right.
time another thing and another thing and another thing, like, piling on one on top of the other. And you're gonna do the therapy, which is super amazing. And I want everybody that listens to know that if you hear negative forecasts, choose not to believe the negative. Because what happens in our times is that we're in a time in what the Zohar calls oy and ashrei. Oy, for the people that are going to have the consciousness of fear, for the people that are going to feel that the Zohar talks about it like the fear is going to make people lose their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are going to have the consciousness, that are going to understand that it's all in my head. I control my reality with my consciousness. It's about sharing with other people. It's about doing in a big picture. The people that are in that consciousness are actually going to be in Ashrei, which is a blessing. O is woe, and
Mm-hmm.
Ashrei is like the highest level of blessing. It's joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
We can choose. We don't need to be in a place that we let that fear and even the media and everybody wants to scare more and more
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know it's a different time topic, but
Yeah.
it's a way to control the masses, scare them.
That's right. Another
That's
way.
it.
That's right.
It's gonna work every time.
Yep.
We need to be above the fear. We need to understand that there is, as you said, good and evil. But if we look at it above, because really, like you said, it's good or not good, but
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
always has good. The higher level of the consciousness is to understand, like the song, "Ve'ikar lo lefached
That's
klal,"
right.
right?
That's right.
The most important thing is to understand that it's all an illusion. There's nothing to be afraid of. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
To learn how to tap into the courage at this time, rather than to go to the place that everybody, we're going. A lot of people, not only astrologers, a lot of people like to predict negative forecasts.
Yeah,
Why?
that's right. Because people like
And
it
some people will
sells.
always have negative situations, and it's going to
Yeah.
be right somehow. And when you're scared, and when you put in somebody's mind that something bad is going to happen,
You're
it
going
will
to get it.
create a reality.
We
Like
talked
you
about
said
this a
it
little
there,
bit. And
it's like we're going
exactly.
back to the same point, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
not to fall into it, to understand that the energy of Aquarius, which those both planets are in, it's an energy of going out of the logical mind. You're not an Aquarius, but you have a strong energy that is related to Aquarius in your chart, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not everything is what you see.
That's right.
And most of it is not what you see.
That's right.
And now to be in a point that we understand that fear is never connected to the Creator. Never.
Well, here's
Fear
the
is
thing.
not.
Here's the thing. It's like saying there are people that would say darkness is the absence of light. But darkness was created for darkness. The same thing that fear was created for fear, so you can do what you need to do with fear, but it's not the absence of joy or love.
It has its own entity.
It has its own entity. Yeah.
Right. But why are people afraid? Why are people afraid? Because they think that without fear, they're not going to be ready. People call me, should I take out all my money from my bonds? Should I do this? You want to be scared? What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
People are scared, or fear comes from, it's for people that have fear. A lot of times will feel that it's a way to protect them. People think that like they hold on to the fear.
Yeah.
They don't really want to let go of it.
Of course not,
because they feel that that's what protects them.
Also, they feel that because they know it, they think they know, so they rather stay with what they know, as shitty as it may be, but rather than the unknown.
Exactly. You know that Hanukkah is in the month of Kislev now. Yeah. We're moving to but Kislev is the month of miracles. And miracles literally means that it's beyond logic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's beyond logic. Wow. We have an opportunity to look at things that are beyond our logic, beyond the capability of the organized mind, understand how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You don't need to know how it's going to happen. You need to know that it's available. And in the month of people that are Sagittarius will know it very much, but in the month of Kislev, which is, but Hanukkah still drags that energy of miracles.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that I am entitled of miracles in my life. It's not everything that I do. If I do 1 and 1, I'm going to have 2. If I do 1 and 1, it's like you say, the domino is 1. But eventually it can create an effect of a much bigger machine, right? And it's the same when it comes to miracles. Miracles, it's not linear. It's not cerebral. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's something that can happen, and we need to open ourselves. So if there are areas in our lives like that we want a miracle in, we see that we're stuck. Yeah, we need to make a commitment to change what we need to change. But in this holiday, we can first get the miracles and then start doing the rest of the work,
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you very much. What a nice sufganiya, what a nice donut, sweetness of a donut in this Hanukkah time to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. So how can people find you? Website,
Um,
Facebook, what?
so yeah, so the best thing I would say is through my Facebook page.
I will put it here.
It's
It'll be
yes, and
here.
also Instagram.
Okay.
Um, that's you can
And
just
what's on
private
Facebook? What's your
message me.
page on Facebook? Rachel
It's
Schwartz.
Rachel Schwartz, Kabbalistic Astrologer,
Okay, I'll put here the
and in
link. You guys have the
Instagram,
link here.
yeah, on Instagram it's Rachel the Astrologer.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rachel the astrologer. Wonderful.
yeah.
And you obviously can do readings over Zoom, over the
Of
phone.
course,
Of
yeah, yeah.
course,
I do it
wonderful.
with
And
people all over the world.
wonderful, wonderful.
There's no problem. Thank God we have an amazing technology now.
Well, now we're going to use it. Now, nothing will go back because we're not going to go back. People are
No,
waiting for things to go back like they were. They're never going to go back.
no, and I'm
So,
happy about it. I
and we
think
are
it's
adaptable
great.
animals or not animals, but
Totally.
creatures.
Creatures, right?
And wonderful.
Okay.
Rachel, thank you so much. Rachel
Thank you
Schwartz,
so much,
Kabbalistic
Ilan. Thank you.
Astrologer. And you're
Thank
now
you.
in the East Coast, right? You're in New
Yes,
Jersey?
I live in Jersey.
You live in Jersey. Okay.
Jersey.
Jersey. Okay. Well, thank you for being Rachel. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank you
here.
for everybody for listening and
Yeah.
being open. And thank you so much for having me and being such a great talking partner.
Yeah, this is great. We should do it more.
Totally. Legamre.
Legamre. Also in
Totally,
Hebrew, we could
totally.
do that. Thank you, everybody who's been watching. This is Abracadabra, create what you speak. Apropos, by the way, Abracadabra in Aramaic means I create as I speak. Not create, coming from creation, not invention, coming from something that exists, but creating something that doesn't exist. So we create what we speak. Thank you for being here. I'm iLan Azoulai, and I will see you next week.
You're listening to Abracadabra, create what you speak with iLan Azoulai, only